Now this is a continuation of the previous video where we looked at quality assurance and change, and in this particular segment we're going to look at theories of management, principles of management, and delegation. Look at question 3. You have been appointed as a ward manager and you must immediately start performing your duties. Outline any 5 theories of management. What I want you to remember is we've got so many theories of management, but here I'm just going to outline 5 theories. I would encourage you to look at others. So the first theory that I'll look at is the system management theory. System management theory. The system management theory views an organization as a system that has interrelated parts. These parts work or operate as one or a whole in order to achieve a specific goal. This theory signifies that the manager of an organization should be able to understand the various parts of the system that makes up the entire operation. System management theory views an organization as a system that has interrelated parts. These parts work or operate as one or a whole in order to achieve a specific goal. This theory signifies that the manager of an organization should be able to understand the various parts of the system that makes up the entire operation. So the systems management theory is just like the human body, where we are saying the human body is like a system. And this body is composed of the hands, the legs, the head, and the different parts. And for this body to function at its full capacity, all the different parts, they have to be involved and operate as one. So that is the same way the system management theory operates. So a manager has to understand that this system, it operates as one, and they have to understand the whole parts as well as understand how the various parts they operate in order to achieve a specific organizational goal. The second theory that I will talk about is the behavioral management theory. Behavioral management theory. This theory states that workers' conditions affect the quantity and quality of their works. The workers' conditions influence the work behavior of employees towards work. Therefore, management must be concerned with the workers' condition in order to improve the quantity and quality of work output. So for the behavioral management theory, we are saying as a manager, when we use this theory, we need to always bear in mind the conditions in which the workers work under. And this theory says the conditions in which workers or employees work under, they actually influence the quantity and the quality of the work. A very good example is we have nurses as an example in a department. Now, if you don't put good conditions like good working hours, good conditions on night duty, maybe if it's winter, you give them heaters, you give them coffee or tea on their breaks. Some of those things, the external conditions, they can affect the quantity and the quality of their work. So this is what this theory states. The third theory is quantitative management theory. Quantitative management theory. The quantitative management theory, it focuses on the use of quantitative tools to help plan and control nearly everything in an organization. The manager who adopts this theory will try to quantify the tasks in his planning of task allocation. So here you're just trying to use mathematics. You're trying to use, quantity. You use different tools for you to use in the management of your subordinates. And then the fourth one, we have what is called the scientific management theory. The scientific management theory, I think we are all familiar with it. It is also called the classical management theory. Now, this scientific management theory, the father of scientific management theory, this is a very common question in your MCQs and short answer. They will ask you, who was the father of scientific management? The father of scientific management was Frederick Taylor. So he conducted time and motion studies to time workers, analyze their movements, and set their standards. And Frederick Taylor developed the scientific management theory, which proposed careful specification and measurements of all organizational tasks. So this was a long time ago, and then these tasks were standardized as much as possible. Workers were rewarded and punished according to the job performance to increase production or performance of an organization. Now, in the scientific or classical management theory, it places emphasis on finding one best way to perform and manage tasks, simplifying tasks, standardization of tasks, rewarding and punishing employees according to job performance to increase productivity. It focuses on two key areas: observation and measurement of outcome. So the scientific management theory, in simple, what these guys did, Frederick Taylor, they were used to say in a factory, for example, or let's say when you're working in a ward as a nurse, there was a way of standardizing how you give drugs or how you measure BP. So according to scientific management theory, if I'm to use the example of measuring BP, it says that there is a way in which you measure BP. There is a way a nurse has to stand. There is a way a nurse has to talk to the patient. And there is a way in which the nurse has to press a button. So the focus of this theory was every nurse who is to be rewarded was supposed to measure BP according to that standard. So if you press button using the left hand when the standard says use the right hand, you are not going to be rewarded but punished. So it was a way of trying to force people to work like machines. If you follow the standard, you are doing the work very well. But this theory, it also had some disadvantage. Most people, they were more like frustrated in it. So motivation was low. So that was the scientific management theory, which placed emphasis on finding the one best way to perform and manage tasks, simplifying tasks, standardization of tasks, and rewarding and punishing employees according to job performance to increase productivity. Then the fifth one that we have is called the contingent management theory. This theory states that a leader's effectiveness is dependent or contingent on how well the leader's style matches a specific setting or situation. Fred Fiedler introduced the contingent model of leadership. He argued that a leadership style will be effective or ineffective depending on the situation. So with the contingent management theory, it says for you as a leader to be effective, your effectiveness as a leader is dependent on how well the leadership style matches with the specific setting or a situation. So basically you find that it's more like a situational approach where you have to manage a specific situation using a specific style of leadership. So that was the contingent management theory. So in summary, the five that I have just mentioned are system management theory, behavior management theory, quantitative management theory, scientific management theory, and fifth one, contingent management theory. Then the next question is, explain any 10 principles of management you are going to reinforce in your ward. So this question, we need to understand the principles of management. First of all, Henry Fayol is known as the father of management. In the same way we said for scientific management, Frederick Taylor is the father of scientific management. Now for principles of management, when it comes to management, the father of management is Henry Fayol. And he came up with 14 principles of management. And in this particular question, they wanted 10 principles of management. And you're supposed to explain them and how you're going to use them to reinforce in your ward. So the first one that we're going to talk about is unity of command. Now, this principle states that every subordinate should receive orders and be accountable to one superior. If an employee receives orders from more than one superior, it is likely to create confusion and conflict. You will reinforce this principle by emphasizing the reporting system within the ward. You will tell your subordinates to be receiving orders from you alone as the ward in charge, so as to avoid confusion. So unity of command, what it simply means is taking orders from only one superior supervisor. The second one is unity of direction. This principle states that all those working in the same line of activity must understand and pursue the same objectives. This principle seeks to ensure unity in an organization. The entire organization should be moving towards a common objective in a common direction. You will reinforce this principle by sharing with your subordinates the objectives of your ward so that everyone must be aware and contribute towards their achievement. So for unity of direction, in simple, what it simply means is people who are working in the same line of activity must understand and pursue the same objectives. Meaning, if you're all registered nurses in a surgical ward, what it simply means is you all have to work like registered nurses as well as pursue and look after patients like registered nurses. That is what we call unit of direction. Then the third one is scalar chain or chain of command. Scalar chain refers to the chain of superiors ranging from top management to the lowest rank. The principle suggests that there should be a clear line of authority from top to bottom, linking all managers at all levels. It is considered a chain of command. You will reinforce this principle by explaining to your subordinates about the ward management structure so that everyone can understand the structure. Then we have division of work as number 4. This is the specialization of the workforce according to the skills of a person, creating specific personal and professional development within the labor force and therefore increasing productivity. You will reinforce this principle by allocating tasks to subordinates according to their skills and abilities. The fifth one is authority and responsibility. Authority means the right of a superior to give orders to his subordinates, and responsibility means obligation for performance. When authority is exercised, responsibility arises. You will reinforce this principle by giving orders to your subordinates so as to enhance performance of duties. The sixth one is spirit de corps. This is maintaining teamwork spirit. Team spirit helps develop an atmosphere of mutual trust and understanding. Team increased productivity and effectiveness. You will reinforce this principle by applying team building activities. The seventh one is equity. Employees must be treated kindly and alike. Provide equal opportunities and justice must be enacted to ensure a just workplace. As a manager, you will be fair and impartial when dealing with your subordinates. The eighth one, discipline. Discipline refers to obedience to rules, proper conduct in relation to others, and respect of authority. Discipline is essential for the smooth functioning of all organizations. You will reinforce discipline by spelling out rules and promoting compliance to these rules for smooth operations of your ward. Number 9, subordination of individual interest. This principle states that the management must put aside personal considerations and put company objectives first. Therefore, the interest or goals of the organization must prevail over the personal interest of individuals. You will reinforce this principle by putting the interest of your ward above yours as a ward manager. Number 10, remuneration. According to this principle, workers must be paid sufficiently, as this is a chief motivation of employees and therefore greatly influences productivity. The means and methods of remuneration should be fair, reasonable, and rewarding of effort. You will reinforce this principle by being an advocate for improved conditions of service, for motivation of your staff. So this question required 10, and I've just given you those 10. But there are also other principles like order, initiative, degree of centralization, and stability of tenure of personnel, which all make the 14 principles of management by Henry Fayol. We move on to part C. During your discharge of duties as a ward manager, you discover that you have so many activities to perform and you decide to delegate some activities. Part 1. State 5 advantages of delegation. The advantages of delegation are as follows. Number 1. It reduces the workload of the manager. Number 2, it makes work easier because of shared responsibilities. Number 3, it allows manager to concentrate on aspects of job which requires his or her personal knowledge, experience, and skills. Number 4, it promotes staff growth and development. Number 5, there will be less office or work politics where delegation is done properly. Part 2. Outline 5 reasons why some managers are reluctant to delegate. Number 1. Subordinates can mess up the job. Some managers are not willing to delegate because they think the assigning work to subordinates may lead to substandard work by the subordinates. This may be due to the belief that the manager is the only one who can do the job better than anyone else. Number 2, fear of deprivation of some duties. Delegation deprives the manager certain duties that he or she enjoys doing when these duties are assigned to a subordinate, such that some managers will not be very willing to delegate. Number 3, lack of confidence in subordinates. The manager may be reluctant to delegate due to lack of confidence in the subordinates that they will not do the work as the manager would like it to be done. Number 4, fear that the subordinate may take over. Delegation may make the manager feel that the subordinates will take over his or her job because the subordinate may perform the work better than the manager. This is quite common. Number 5, fear of deprivation of being a boss. Some managers want to feel they are bosses, and delegation deprives them of this feeling. Number 6, unwillingness to take risks. Delegation has some risks involved, such as doing the work again because it was not done well. Hence, some managers are unwilling to take the risk involved in depending on others. Number 7, time involved in explaining the task. Delegation requires that the manager takes time to explain the task involved to the subordinate. For this reason, some managers are reluctant to delegate and prefer just to do the work. So in summary, they wanted 5, but I've given you 7. Number 1, subordinates can mess up the job. Number 2, fear of deprivation of some duties. Number 3, lack of confidence of the subordinates. Number 4, fear that the subordinate may take over. Number 5, fear of deprivation of being a boss. Number 6, unwillingness to take risks. And number 7, time involved in explaining the task. These are some of the reasons why some managers are reluctant to delegate some duties to their subordinates. So this brings to the end of these questions, and as such, we hope to have another session in future, but I hope to get some suggestions from you on some areas that you need help. Thank you.